Exploring the unknown. From conspiracies to mysteries, you are entering the conspiracy sector.
Well, welcome everyone to this very special program. I'm your host, Aubrey Batchelor. Sailing this amazing ship of knowledge with me is Chris Jacobs, and you are entering the conspiracy sector. Here we are into the new year already, and hope you guys have been good like always. And first episode of the new year, and obviously it's been pretty eventful. I know, Chris, you've been busy. I've been busy, and just not just our own personal lives, but the world abound has been crazy and hectic, already. I can't even remember there's been so much that has happened, with our predictions and everything, if anything's come to fruition yet. But there is one thing, that can't even remember if we picked up on, but I'm pretty passionate about it. I've said it the whole time. I know
Mhm.
I've talked about artificial food colors here before, and right when the new incoming administration is coming in, mainly RFK Jr. behind a lot of it, Health and Human Services. FDA already just released here in the last few days. Oh, I read number three is causing cancer. All right, so now we're going to eliminate it off the shelves. Companies have 2 years to change your product, for the coloring. It's funny how just all of a sudden, from being fine and totally normal, there's cancer-causing elements in here.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the food coloring that's in like Fruit Loops. I heard he was going to change that. One of the first ones he's going to change it.
Well, and see, the weird thing and we need to do just an episode on health. We should. And the weird thing about that is just touching on a little bit of news in the new year, and recent too. Sorry, I have short-term memory loss. What did I just say?
Mm. The chemicals and the dyes and stuff like that in the
All
food.
right. So already into the new year, that's what I was getting at. Already into the new year, we have all these stories that are happening and everything. And right when this new administration comes in, boom, bam, there it is. It's evil, it's bad, and everything. But if you go back into history, and that's what I wanted to touch on real quick before I digress too much, about the health episode.
Mhm.
Throughout the ages, they've eliminated certain colorings off of the market. Whether it's for makeup, whether it's for food industry, blah 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 blah. And anyhow, about every decade, there's been about a good handful of them, averaging over time over the last 120 years. Sometimes there's 20 of them, sometimes there's, one or two per decade, but just averaging. There's been about 10 per decade, so 10 every 10 years that have been eliminated off the chart and deemed unsafe. And I just wanted to touch on that real quick. I know that we talk a lot about health, the alternative health field, with ourselves, and a little bit of news into the new year already, and expect more to come with that. That's all I can say. But for today's topic, we got a strange one, and I don't know much about it, but digging into a little bit of research, the world is so vast with a certain type of topic that we're going to be talking about here today, and which is that of the Bosnian pyramids. And that topic itself, pyramids is very vast because I'm willing to bet almost not almost willing to bet, I'm sure that every continent on this planet has pyramids on it.
Mhm.
Yeah, of some whatever race of being from whatever time as long as Earth has been plowing its way through the solar system. And that's kind of crazy to think about.
Mhm.
But
Pyramids are everywhere, from Egypt to mine, and the Bosnian pyramid is literally the oldest one on record. Or essentially, if you count the timetable, they said for the Egyptian pyramids, but that one's not necessarily true.
And see, if that is true, and I hate to interrupt, but just picking up on what you're laying down, if it is true, the weird thing about the Bosnian temples, from what I can say, it's like the biggest conspiracy pyramid of all time, digging into what people think about it. And, but if it's the oldest of all time, then we're being lied to by mainstream science,
Mhm.
in history books and everything along that line.
And Egypt, though, to touch on that briefly, what ended up happening is you could tell that the way the stone eroded, like on the Sphinx, for instance, this shows this place is that the pyramids and the Sphinx roughly around the time of the Younger Dryas, which would have been another name for the Great Flood. And this actually puts it in the time of Atlantis. And this follows a lot of the Edgar Cayce prophecies. Later on, somebody took control of the Great Pyramid and turned it into a hydrogen power plant. And then the native Egyptians killed that more advanced group, from what I understand it. And then they killed later on. Akhenaten came in. He was also one of these elongated skull type beings that came in, that engineer type, and then they killed him too. But he was more of the Orion type. The other type was more like an elf, like you see it in Lord of the Rings, but or the dwarves in Elder Scrolls. But before I get too far off topic, the point I'm making is the Bosnian pyramids, even older. That comes from ages way past when the galactics were essentially seeding Earth, from what I understand it. That's why that pyramid is so much older. It's a temple that literally will heal you when you walk into it, and it cuts you off from all the poisons, toxins, all of this, from what I understand. Non-corrupted, non-altered pyramid, and this is what I was able to find here. I'll read this real fast. It's like, okay. It says the Bosnian pyramid discovery is a series of claims made by Samir Osmanic, I think is how you pronounce it, that a group of
There's a lot of hard names to pronounce. So if
so,
anybody hears this, through the articles we're going to read, it might be kind of, scattered names. So no disrespect to the person's actual name, but they are difficult to.
yeah, they are. Yeah, insert Bosnian name here. So yeah, the hills of Bosnia and Herzegovina are the world's largest ancient pyramids. However, scientists have largely rejected this. If you look on Google, if you look up the Bosnian pyramid, you will find that it is largely poo-pooed. It is largely somebody trying to debunk it. This usually tells me if the mainstream science and academia.
And see, and I want to pick up on that, because the topic's so vast. That's what I wanted to summarize, with it's kind of a conspiratorial pyramid, because there's a lot of genuine things behind it. Then, of course, you're going to have the fantastical people that say it's all fantasy.
Mhm,
And but I'm kind of split between the two. There's no, it just I know that there has to be something special behind it.
mhm,
I wonder why there hasn't been more extensive, archaeological work and, excavation and yeah, I
mhm,
know dirt work and earth moving, especially in a place like that, it has to be tough.
mhm.
Moving all that ain't an easy job. I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I heard people. I've even spoken to people that have gone to that complex, and they
so
say,
it actually has healing properties.
yeah, and they if you go down into the biggest of the pyramids that's there, if you go inside that one, people go in there and they can have any viruses, diseases they've had, they've come out on the other end completely healed. And that's what they feel the purpose of that particular one was in whenever time frame that came from. And in 2006, it says Osmanic and his team discovered large stone blocks, a paved entrance, plateau, and tunnel entrances on the hill of Viscosia. Satellite images and the thermal imaging revealed two more pyramid-shaped hills in the Visoko Valley. Rescue workers from a nearby coal mine were sent into the tunnel that appeared to connect to the three hills. Archaeologists, geologists, and other experts declared the tunnel to be man-made. And this is
Hmm.
like the Bimini Road they found off of Bermuda. Uh, and that's where the bottom of the Bermuda Triangle is. And Edgar Cayce predicted that that was a piece of Atlantis there. This, I feel, is pretty much the same. It comes from a time frame prior to that. I feel in the hundreds of thousands versus the tens of thousands. And actually more like millions, because there's been ET cultures that have come and gone, civilizations that have come and gone over the centuries. And we see just bits and pieces left behind from those previous civilizations and previous eras. They managed to prove that our pole has shifted a number of times, and different cities, different ancients.
Well, and see, watching an episode of Missing Links with Greg Braden on Gaia, he
Mhm.
quoted the Inuit people of way up north, I believe. He was like, they said that their stars have changed in the sky, like their place in the sky. And
Hmm.
that's exactly what that means.
The pole shift. And what ended up happening is each one of these cities, they were able to measure this, that if they judged that by the original true north before the shifting occurred, then based on a particular star pattern, they could then accurately judge the true age of the site. And it was in the hundreds of thousands. It was not in just the thousands. And so they were able to show that the site that was underneath maybe a couple layers that had been built on top of it, the original one was hundreds of thousands of years old, even millions. So the Bosnian pyramids fall under that same category from ages hence, essentially
Hmm.
the different Earth eras and civilization eras, and we're just getting fragments of those. Granted, there's other timelines and things involved too. We don't need to go into.
And see, and that's the weird thing. There's a lot of different routes you can go with this, and this is why I wanted to try to intermingle a bunch of other topics with it, because if they're that old, they've seen everything. If that makes sense, if they're the oldest structure, they've seen everything else be built. They haven't been to that location, but you know what I mean. They've been here with the test of time. And, I always go back often. I know I've said this on the show before and I've said it to a lot of people, but yeah, that's why how it resonates with me. That's why I say it every so often when we talk about these topics is my uncle told me one time that he thought that human beings had built themselves up to a high advanced technological level only to destroy themselves and to restart again over the course of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of years. And it kind of makes sense because one of the other topics I have loaded up that I wanted to talk about is out of place artifacts.
Hmm.
And, where we find something in modern society and then, it resembles, or no, we find like an ancient item that's dug up, but it resembles something from modern society. And we've seen like the Antikytherian mechanism and certain phones, the London hammer.
Hmm.
There's certain examples that you guys can go look up, and if you don't know about them, especially the London Hammer, that's probably the most well-known, out of all the out-of-place artifacts that people know most. And the London Hammer is not from London, England's London, Texas, that it was found. But just go look that up if you're bored.
Yeah, oops objects. Those we've mentioned that topic before, and some of these things are time slip objects. Some of these things are from aliens. Some of these things are from dimensions. And there was somebody we know that even recently dug up in Mexico an artifact that
Well,
was.
and I guess what I wanted to get at is, how the Bosnian pyramids are of a highly advanced, like concrete structure, healing capabilities, things of that nature.
Mhm.
It's like something that I can't even fathom in modern society.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. It's from an age that not only were ETs involved, but some people speculate it was just another advanced version of humanity that came before us. That's where you get the elongated skulls from. Granted, there was alien contact and there was a lot of all the alien stories in there, but then you also can view it as a more advanced culture that then we were the ones that just kind of took over the planet after a while. They even have around Stonehenge, another one of those types of sites. There's even skeletons with elongated skulls that they found around Stonehenge with axe wounds in the back of their heads. The same thing, if you look at the story of Akhenaten in Egypt, they tried to erase him in history because he tried to get them to worship the one God. And that's how Christianity, I found out, ended up getting started because Caesar took that information from the Library of Alexandria and took it to Rome, hence the Vatican Library eventually became to be. But with this was that they were going after pretty much anybody that looked like that. After a while, different hordes and mobs of people were going after some of these engineer looking types. That seems to be a consistent historical pattern. They were constantly going after people that looked like that. They would try to kill people that looked like that, like the previous generation of people. Even the Native Americans killed some giants that had elongated skulls. That was more the Jotun from Norse mythology, the more cannibalistic type ones. But the thing of it is, you see a consistent pattern with humans that look like us going after people that look like them.
hmm,
And that seems to be just a consistent pattern. No matter where you look, there's a story of elongated skull being killed by us.
hmm.
So kind of like kind of almost like a natural selection sort of thing, but different.
Similar to the whole giant things, you know how we used to supposedly we killed the races of giant beings that used to live here.
Yeah, that's exactly it. There's the Nephilim, and then you have Jotun, which would be the ones of Jotunheim in Scandinavian mythology.
And that's also a theory, you know, that supposed giants were helping build some of these pyramids throughout the world.
The
You
building,
know, that's another theory that's been, sent out there before.
like they were created by the Anunnaki essentially to build the.
Well, look at the size of the stones. I can't think of, and the Nephilim, and I don't think we've talked about giants yet on the show.
No, we haven't.
But
No, we haven't gone into that.
it's said that, the size of their tooth is the size of my fist. Size
hmm
of one tooth. So I think that they could lift one of those stones if there was two or three of them lifting, a stone to put them in place.
Like the one at I believe it's like was it no, it was Baalbek, I believe in Turkey, I believe it is that there is this large stone that is so hundreds of metric tons. Our equipment today could not pick it up, which means you
Hmm.
have to have if you're measuring the tooth by this, you would have to have someone that size that would fit that tooth to be able, or a couple of them to pick those blocks up. Now
Yeah.
they.
Yeah. Well, no, what, keep going.
Oh yeah, yeah. They also had the sound technology which built some of these as well. But I came to find out that some of the blocks that were fitted together perfectly in some of those megalithic structures you can't fit paper between or fit a dollar bill between or business card or anything like that. I found out the reason they're vitrified as some of the equipment that was used by the ET culture or the advanced engineering cultures is they melted the stone and then poured it into place to make those fit geometrically like that. But then also for some of the larger like foundations and such, they brought in giants to help move the bigger blocks around. From what I understand, what happened in some of our galactic history, but everything seems to be interwoven from aliens to giants to places like the Bosnian pyramid. From what I saw, there was many videos when that first started back in 2006. There was a horde of videos that hit the internet. You don't find near as many of them now, but when Osmanovic started this, there was people that were drawn to this site for absolutely like what that felt like no reason. People would just go and volunteer to dig and volunteer to move the earth there. And there was even a guy that was on there that said, "I have no idea why I'm here." You're being drawn there because you recognize it from somewhere in your soul's
Hmm.
history. You recognize it from somewhere, and you recognize it from something that involves you or a timeline which you came from or a bit of history you came from that your soul recognizes this place or
Hmm.
recognizes places like this. Because there's pyramids everywhere. There was a worldwide empire at one point. This proves that all these megalithic structures prove that it was one civilization, one world at one time. Uh,
Hmm.
at least to me, that proves that there was a
That's
world.
a good theory. I like that.
This proves it, and I believe Tartaria tried to recreate this, and it was unities like this tend to
So, what
get.
do you think happened? Like the extinction thing, like the dinosaurs?
Well, what happened is there was a big war that took place in our solar system. That's what happened with Asgard, what was also known as Maldek as well. And what ended up happening, our asteroid belt is from an exploding planet. What happened then, that is the Norse Ragnarok or the Scandinavian Viking Ragnarok, is what that actually was. We were able to find out. It's not in the future like what the Vikings thought it was. It's in its extreme ancient past. And when all of this fighting took place is when all of that broke up. You get the Tower of Babel story. That's the fall of Atlantis. So, from what we were able to figure out, the Tower of Babel is basically a translator that was on Atlantis translating the languages of multiple people. And when that rusted apart because of a war, everybody nobody could understand one another. That's from what we figued out is
Hmm.
it came from the time of Atlantis, and there's also other periods in history that you could amalgam into that story. But that's we found out some of those biblical stories came from the age before in ancient Sumeria, and some of those stories came from Atlantis, several thousand years before that. So you're going about 5 or 6 thousand for Sumeria, then another 5 to 6 for Atlantis, the end of Atlantis. So yeah, this is going to get broken up, and it turns into the 100th monkey after a while, where the stories break up after a while, or it turns into legend and fable. It's just legends and are just basically extremely old, convoluted history. It's basically
Hmm.
distorted history. Uh, and just that's where the whole ancient alien theory comes in. But aside from aliens, if you just axe the whole alien thing, it is still clear that you can see there were several civilizations prior to
Hmm.
ours, and there's bits and pieces of them still around. And the biggest one being that you can see the same techniques being used worldwide: pyramids,
And
little big blocks, all of that.
And see, we talk about all this stuff, but I think that it all, it intermingles and all leads back to certain things or one thing. This is where I'd like to see, some of the hidden things in the Vatican archives. What maybe there is something behind all these, in there, that's being hidden and, bestowed away.
Oh yeah, I know there's miles and miles of Vatican archives. That would be an episode in of itself. We do one about the Vatican archives because
Or if there's anything on pyramids.
oh yeah, I believe where this actually started was Julius Caesar invades Egypt. He basically burns everything, and they say he burned the Library of Alexandria, which did happen. That's on record. But he wasn't stupid. He would not have burned anything he could have used to his advantage. What happens is he takes all of that history, all that innovation, he takes it back to Rome with him. Rome advances very quickly, technologically advances very, very fast, and also over time they begin to convert their polytheism to monotheism. And where they got that from eventually turns into Christianity. Where they got that from was Pharaoh Akhenaten wanting everybody to worship the sun sphere, which was Aten. He wanted to get rid of all the gods and worship the one. And they stoned him to death and burned his body for that one. What then happened is that they tried to erase him from history, but somebody still saved a record of that religious conversion, and Julius Caesar ran with it after the Roman Empire ran with it, and eventually later on in history became the Holy Roman Empire when the church came about. And that's the origins of that, and the church style. You know how you see the robes, the mitre hat, the whole bit, and the way the architecture is. That traces all the way back to Atlantis, of which Egypt was a portion of. And the clothes, everything, they're mimicking Atlantis. And what also the Eye of Sahara, if you look up this, the Eye of Sahara, it's in Western Africa. This was exactly where Atlantis City was. And if people look at the myths surrounding the end of Atlantis, they just basically displeased the gods. And it was actually Zeus that destroys Atlantis. And this goes back to the Enki and Enlil fight from ancient Sumeria. You have Poseidon, which is Enki. You have Zeus, which is Enlil. And basically, Zeus throwing one of his thunderbolts down, and it destroys everything, turning. And this is also what Edgar Cayce said about Egypt. And this was proven, where there was a layer of green glass in Egypt. They found this layer of green glass that could have only happened from a mass explosion, from some kind of radioactive source. And in ancient Sumeria, in the New Middle and other sources, and also in India, their Mahabharata, they talk about the weapons of mass destruction that would cause boils and burns. That's radioactivity. So that's nuclear radiation. And from what I understand, the Galactics frown at nuclear technology. That's why Chernobyl is still around, to teach people not to use this crap anymore, because it stretches into other dimensional layers. From what I understand, that's why you have ETs trying to disable these things all the time, and people, even versions of us from another timeline, are trying to do that. So, from what I understand, but yeah, this is where I'm at with this. But I feel that the Bosnian pyramids are from one of those ages before, when everybody was getting along.
Hmm.
What it was.
Hmm. I I don't know. I'm just trying to think about it all. I think it could be. It's just weird to think about, and kind of wish I had a time machine to see it.
Yeah, I will. Yeah,
That's
you
the
can do a
biggest
remote
thing.
viewing. Yeah,
Huh.
people can try to remote view it and look back through time.
Yeah, that is true. Like retrocognition.
Mm-hmm. And the
Uh-uh.
Vatican Library has something called the chronovisor, of which that's what they did with it. So it basically, time has a frequency. whereas each age that passed has its own frequency. And if you had a device that could scan frequencies, you can go into temporal frequencies, by which then you could look at the timelines. And they show this loosely in sci-fi. They showed in Loki, the Marvel series. They showed in Star Trek a lot. Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek, the For the Voyage Home, they also did this where Kirk and them lost
Hmm.
consciousness when they whipped around the sun and went back through time. The Discovery crew, the same thing happens, but one of the characters in that show starts to go through an aphasia. And what happens, it means like a psychosis or it's called temporal aphasia there, if people know the Trek lore. And it has to do with frequencies. If somebody travels rapidly through time, their frequency is always trying to get back over here. They'll either adapt to where they've gone and adapt their frequency, or they will try to get back to this one. If this happens, they die. So the other one happens, they can't get back there, they die. And that's what they did with the character. They sent her back to that time frame so she wouldn't die. But that happens to be a true concept with using a device like the chronovisor. You're looking back in frequency layers and frequency, you're turning the dial to, okay, this frequency was a match for this time frame,
Hmm.
so therefore I'm going to turn it back to this. Astrology is the same way, whereas this is how the galactics tell time, where the planetary rotations are a different age of the universe. And this is where astrologists get like how this energy affects this person this particular way. So this person's going, this is their path kind of thing. I don't completely buy into it, but that's the basis of it anyway.
Hmm.
So that's at least that's from what I understand of that concept.
Pretty interesting. Now, I'm gonna dive into an article real quick.
Mm.
Uh, go to, let me go full screen here. I don't know why I wasn't on full screen the whole time. It makes it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Uh,
And folks at home, he has this gigantic monitor on the end of it. He has this big
yeah,
monitor on his
curve screen.
curved screen. Yeah.
Uh, says that screen sharing is disabled, but I'll just read it.
Oh,
Uh,
all right.
uh,
Hang on. I think it's. Oh, now you should be able to do it. It was off.
okay, here, I'll just do that real quick. It's easy to read that way. Uh, this comes from uh, memorychurch.com, and it's 8 astonishing facts about the Bosnian pyramids, man-made marbles, or natural formations. And I'm just going to kind of skim through this. If people want to, they can go to that article and read it. But are these structures the oldest man-made pyramids on Earth? The debate continues, with some believing they're proof of advanced ancient civilizations, others arguing they're natural formations. So what are the Bosnian pyramids? These mysterious hills near Visoko have sparked controversy among experts and curious travelers alike. This article explores both perspectives, shedding light on the phenomenon that has captured global attention. You'll discover 8 astonishing facts about the Bosnian pyramids. These facts will challenge your understandings of ancient history. Some believe the pyramids are evidence of advanced ancient engineering. Others argue that they are simple natural formations. What is the truth behind the Bosnian pyramids? Join us as we explore the intriguing evidence. By the end, you'll have a deeper appreciation for these fascinating structures. Let's uncover the secrets of the Bosnian pyramids together. Number one, Valley of the Bosnian Pyramids. Imagine standing in the heart of Bosnia, surrounded by towering hills. Some believe these hills are not just natural formations, they are called Bosnian pyramids. Enthusiasts argue these structures are ancient pyramids hidden by time and nature. Samir Osmanagic, a Bosnian American, brought this idea to light in '05. According to him, and I was listening to him speak on YouTube too. The largest pyramid here, the Pyramid of the Sun, stands at 300 meters tall. That's taller than the Great Pyramid of Giza, which is the pyramids that everybody thinks about when they hear the word pyramid. And experts are divided. Many archaeologists say these formations are natural, but the supporters, driven by Osmanagic's passion, believe these pyramids could be over 25,000 years old. That's a huge claim, making these structures older than any known pyramids in Egypt. The debate adds an air of mystery. Walking through the Valley of the Pyramids, you may find underground tunnels. These tunnels, according to Osmanagich, suggest that an advanced ancient civilization. Critics, though, caution that these tunnels may have natural explanations. What do you think? Um, well, I think a lot about it, really. I think it could be hidden by time and history, but that's what I said. Why no excavation? Why no money? If this is, it should be, full-fledged, full force, should have at least 100 archaeologists there working at the
Hmm.
bare minimum. And I have no idea what type of archaeological work's going on there right now, but I do know that I would like to visit there. But the fact about that is I was hearing that after COVID, their tourism has kind of struggled in the area. So that might prevent, work from, you know, taking place and stuff. But then there's the Pyramid of the Sun. Can you imagine a pyramid taller than the Great Pyramid of Egypt? That's what some claim about the Pyramid of the Sun in Bosnia. The structure located in the town of Visoko is said to be around 720 feet tall. Many believe it to be an incredible man-made monument. Samir Osmanjanik has argued for years that this hill is an ancient pyramid. He suggests that the pyramid was built by an advanced civilization long ago. And see, if you look at it from like Google view, sky view, it looks like a pyramid on one side, but it looks like a natural hill on the other.
Because some of it could have some other land formations, so things.
Yeah, well, that's what it probably is. That's why it needs to be excavated.
Yeah.
And but see, that's where you can just say it's a natural formation,
Mhm.
and
Because it's so old that.
people will believe it,
Mhm.
and maybe it is. Watch us be the idiots, but I don't think so.
No.
I think there's something hidden here, and we all know that science lies. They lie just as much as any other institution out there.
Oh yeah.
But Then there's the Pyramid of the Moon. It stands an impressive 190 meters, 600 feet tall. It makes it one of the largest structures in the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. It's even taller than the Great Pyramid of Giza by over 150 feet. Um, some believe it is an ancient human man-made pyramid, while others think it's a natural hill. What's particularly intriguing is its connection to other pseudo-archaeological theories around the area. The Pyramid of the Moon is said to have an underground network of tunnels and water accumulations. This has sparked many debates among archaeologists and enthusiasts alike. If you're curious about the materials, the Pyramid of the Moon is believed to be shaped from sandstone. Sandstone is widely used as construction material. Beneath, there might be an underground lakes connected to other pyramids in the area. This adds another layer of mystery to these formations. And then number four is the ravine tunnels. About the ravine complex below there. And there's a pyramid of love where it's 90 meters tall, making it quite an impressive structure. Some believe that this pyramid, like the others, is man-made. These pyramids have sparked debates among experts and enthusiasts, while many questions the claims. Others are fascinated by the possibility of the ancient human craftsmanship. And see a regular picture of the Bosnian pyramids now, it looks like one kind of looks like a pyramid, then a bunch of hills. So that's what they're talking about, these different pyramids here in this article. So if you look at an actual picture of it, it looks like a bunch of hills in the background. But there's one that's kind of outstanding, and then there's these hills. So these are the pyramids that represent those hills in the regular picture. And there's a pyramid of the dragon. The Pyramid of the Dragon is one of the intriguing structures in Bosnia's pyramid complex, located in the town of Visoko. It stands out due to its unique alignment and massive size. Some believe that these formations are ancient pyramids, while others argue that natural. I don't know why they keep saying that in every article or in every description of every uh, pyramid.
I guess repetition gets it into people's heads.
I would say. But yeah, if you guys want to finish reading all this, I kind of just wanted to. There's kind of a good picture right there of the hills in the background and everything a little bit.
Mm.
But
Yeah, these.
construction techniques, I did want to read that real quick. Those who support the man-made structure hypothesis that these hills are not natural. They were purposely built using advanced methods, possibly from aliens. They imagine ancient builders might have used stone blocks, clay, and other materials. These theories point to straight edges, terraces, and tunnels as evidence. Measurements. Supporters sometimes mention precise measurements and angles that resemble known pyramids. For example, the alignment of the pyramids with celestial bodies is often highlighted. This reflects an intention and knowledge of astronomy. Materials. The materials discovered in these hills are also a topic of intense interest. Some claim to find unusual organic materials or ancient concrete. And see, I've heard from uh, Well, I mean, the cultural significance, what would make these pyramids culturally significant for starters? They could change for understanding of European prehistory. If proven to be man-made, these hills would suggest that ancient civilizations in Bosnia had comparable architectural skills to the Egyptians or Mayans. Historical context, the discovery could point to a lost civilization with its own advancements. Think about it. What kind of society invested the time and effort into constructing massive pyramids? This would be a huge clue to a complex and organized culture. Symbolic importance. These pyramids might also hold religious and symbolic meanings. Many ancient structures were built for worship or as tombs, reflecting the values and beliefs of their creators. And see, I've heard that they found, uh, like layers of concrete. But then, I've heard people say, "Oh, that's a bedrock in the area." Yeah, so doing the research into it, you have one side versus the other side.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like elections.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's also a point of view, academia is always trying to bury structures like this, always trying to say, "Oh no, oh no, no, this has nothing to do with the civilizations that came before." It's painfully obvious if you go with just your own eyes. Like Egypt, somebody performed a scientific test on the Sphinx one time and really pissed off Dr. Zahi Hawass. So
Was that about how the age digression of it, like how it was weathered and it's older than what it
it was
is?
water that did
They
it.
said it's older and he got pissed. Is that what that is?
Yeah, yeah, and they did that just to trick him when they pulled that the paper off. Like, no, this is actually the Sphinx I was showing. They wanted him to say it was water erosion, so they covered the Sphinx and just said, "What type of erosion is this?" And he said, "It's water." Showed the Sphinx.
I must say, I look at it, I do Dr. Zahi Hawass. It's weird how everybody always remembers his name, but he's a fiery son of a bitch. I like him quite a bit, but he is set in his ways. He will not, he's a hard working, I don't care what you say about the guy. I think he's a book full of knowledge, but he will not veer from what he believes. Not at all.
Not at
I
all.
know I don't think he doesn't believe in aliens.
Oh, no, no, no. What I thought was interesting, the engineer named Chris Dunn, he wrote the book The Egyptian Power Plant, and they discovered these reservoirs under the main pyramid that the test showed that certain liquids and acids were underneath there that would have turned the power plant into a hydrogen power plant, and the obelisks were the receivers. What happened, or the ones that delegated the power out to the other pyramids. What happened was Dr. Hawass was looking at these little spheres they found all over the complex. And these were actually, I found that these were, some of them were technology, not the ones that they would roll with their hands. There was another ones that were perfect spheres. And he argued that created some of the blocks. They carved some of the blocks with also these little bathtub shaped reservoirs they found. And Chris Dunn said, no, based on the engineering techniques or based on the shape, you would need some that were very, very tiny to carve out things symmetrically. They carved symmetric patterns that were exactly perfect 50-50 on both sides. It required a high technological advanced culture, the same as for the pyramids. So you're seeing both sides of the yin and yang with that argument on both ends. And I think this is how some of these like secret societies and such in the background try to get information out to us. They'll show something that seems mathematically inaccurate, and then they'll show something that's mathematically and scientifically accurate, but it takes a great leap of faith to believe how it came into being. This is how you're seeing something's getting disclosed, some truth getting disclosed out there, is through those comparisons. Like Chris Dunn and Dr. Zayawas are perfect examples of the yin and yang in that category. So you're seeing that dichotomy everywhere to get people to think about it. Even though there's the cover up in place, obviously, you have these other areas where somebody's trying to disclose something more truthful about it in that way. It's an annoying method, but it's being used quite often. The yin and yang method, I call it. It's being used quite often.
Excuse me. Puppies! Sorry, everybody. My dogs are going crazy.
He has several dogs, guys. So yeah.
Dogs, you're okay. They think somebody's at the door, but nobody's at the door.
Well, given our basically topics of choice and our career of choice here, it's not surprising there might be somebody at the door that isn't actually at the door. So
Yeah.
So
Yeah, hopefully they settle down here. They're trying to kind of driving
we've
me
had that
nuts.
happen here. We've had rocks thrown at the house all day.
But yeah,
We've
it's
had
very
rocks.
strange. What's
So
that?
we've had stones thrown at the house and everything. That's usually a sign of the forest people. But we've had stones thrown at the house. We've had knocks on the windows. We've had all sorts of stuff happen this week. So, uh,
Weird.
yeah, where Sammy's been barking at something that hasn't been.
Oh, that is hey, I would told you that I've never really had any experiences in my own house. I've told you that, but it's happened like two or three times this week that I swear. And my neighbor was with me yesterday, and it just happened yesterday. We swore that my front door has like a little distinct, squeak to it, and we heard it swing open.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just had no doubt about it. And we looked at each other like, okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've had that. We've had that here. Here's an incident. I know it's off topic, but here, talk about imprints. Also, of previous ages. Energy comes in frequency layers, like what I said. There can be imprints from battles, wars, anything that's happened. It even happens in houses where we live. In this one here in Virginia Beach, every now and again we hear this really loud crashing noise, like a china cabinet being tipped over and shattering, the glass shattering, everything breaking inside, all this other stuff.
Hmm.
We think the first time we heard it, we thought somebody broke into the house. And we get up and we're looking around going, what the hell? And
Hmm.
nothing. And then my mother hears it. We hear it again. We found out in one of the previous owners, there's been several since the 60s. In 69 is when this house was built. And there has been at least 6 or 7 different owners, including the one that rented it to us. And there's been several instances of people arguing, and it stands to reason somebody lost their shit and tipped something over. So that's what I feel happened, and that anger left an imprint, in the property. That's what I feel happened. Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Sorry, I can't even think with Penny.
yeah. Penny is hitting talking back.
Penny, come here. God.
Penny is
Can't record a show. Anyhow, the Bosnian pyramids. Yeah, it is strange though. And I must say, uh, I, how can I even say this? I envision what a world of pyramids would be like today. Like, would it
there.
be something? I do want to share that, and then we can go into question if you'd like.
Yeah,
I, oh, go ahead.
Oh, there is a one in Alaska too, that the military bases in Alaska have a cordoned off area of Alaska where there is a giant pyramid that's still operational from the Atlantean and pre-Atlantean period.
Hmm.
And they said this pyramid, if it were completely operational, they have to be on ley line intersections in order to work correctly. But some are still on some that haven't changed over the pole shifts and everything. They could literally light the entire country of Canada,
Hmm.
power-wise, with that one pyramid. The
Hmm.
the literally free energy, and that's
Well, all right. Yeah. Hey, right there. Okay, right there. Let me go uh back to here, then over to here. So this is an article from Medium.com and Nikola Tesla's research on pyramids, separating fact from fiction. And I'm just going to skim through one part here. Uh, so the mystery of the pyramids. For centuries, the pyramids have fascinated scholars, scientists, and historians alike. How did the ancient Egyptians build such impressive structures without modern technology? Or the people of the Bosnian pyramids, or the people of the Alaskan pyramids, or whatever pyramids are on every continent, like we said, most likely. So, uh, Tesla's research. In the 1930s, Tesla began conducting experiments on the energy properties of pyramids. He built a miniature pyramid out of paper and wire and placed it under a beam of charged particles. To his surprise, the pyramid began to glow, even though it wasn't connected to a power source. He believed that the pyramid was drawing energy from the Earth's magnetic field. This experiment led Tesla to believe that the pyramids could be used to harness and amplify natural energy sources such as the sun and the Earth's magnetic field. He believed that by building a large pyramid out of conductive materials such as copper and placing it in the right location, it could produce free, limitless energy. So I just wanted to touch on Tesla's research, and people can read that article too, like if they want. But
Yeah,
uh,
that's interesting what Tesla figured out. He figured out harmonics, frequency, electricity mainly, and also energy. He figured all that out, and channeling too.
everything, if I remember correctly, I think he would get these weird daydream visions. Like they would just come to him and be like, he'd be like writing it out blindly, like somebody is possessed.
Oh
And
yeah, that's
so,
channeling like the automatic writing. He was bringing that through. See, I've done automatic writing, and it takes a while to figure out how to function like a regular human being whilst also doing that. It takes a while to get you bounce from alpha to theta wave.
yeah, I was just gonna say it's like you're two different beings.
Yeah, you are. It's like when I bring Isaac, Ernie, and Ed in. There are people have asked me why I leave my eyes shut. And the thing of it is, and I had this happen not too long ago in a show that I was doing. I had to adjust the phone for whatever reason because it was buzzing. And so I had to open an eye quickly to do it. You want to talk about creepy? Uh, well, if you look, I looked like if you look, say, the edge of your computer or a light or the edge of a desk or something like that, it has its geometric shape. If you're in between alpha and theta states and you're looking at that, it's like you've been paralyzed. People have been paralyzed when they are, like through aliens or what have you. The body has a natural ability to paralyze itself while, you're asleep so you don't flail around. What happens is the aliens take advantage of this. People report looking when they're paralyzed and they're looking at an alien, for instance, or looking at any being. They look weird, but then the surroundings look all fucked up. What happens is if you're in between these states, you're seeing these jagged lines coming off of all the stuff. What happened when I looked at the phone was it didn't look rectangular anymore. It looked like all these little juts coming off of it, and that makes you want to puke, actually.
Hmm.
So, and also you get distracted by all the input output that your brain, and encoding, decoding that the brain's going through. So channeling isn't really smart with your eyes open. Uh,
Hmm.
you can relay what somebody's saying through telepathy, but if you're doing that fuse and you pop your eyes open like this, you're going to see all sorts of weird, like acid
Hmm.
crap. So
Hmm.
no, it makes you want to vomit. So you don't want to do that. People have asked me that a lot, and it's been attempted a couple of times, and I might at some point get to the point where I have that perfect balance between the alpha and the theta, and I can actually
Hmm.
look at who at somebody while I'm talking as that person. It's just incredibly difficult.
Hmm.
So yeah, people ask me
Just
that constantly.
easier to tap in, probably.
It's easier to tap in because you have to get to the calm state and have your eyes shut like this. But when I pop the one eye open like this to look at the phone, it felt like gravity was pulling the lid down, and it was like, and I look at the phone and it's all blobbish looking, and it's creepy. I must say, they call it hegogic hallucinations, is when you see stuff like that. Like after my knee surgery, when I came out of anesthetic, things were all bucked up looking like that because I was in half in, half ass, half out. And so that's essentially you're in between alpha and theta. And yeah, it's creepy until you learn to navigate that a little better. And so I think, yeah, we're at the point in the show where I can do this. Give me a second.
Perfect.
All right. And also for what we were talking about the food dyes before, no, there's no dye. This is 100
Yeah,
hibiscus flower. That's
I
it.
know. I'm probably guilty of it in the last day or two, at least.
Yeah, people always ask me, how do you do this thing and eat junk food? Very easily, but it's not recommended.
Well, actually, no, I'm guilty. I've actually was guilty of it about 5 minutes before we got on the show because my new addiction, like I make some bomb ass like homemade like pickled stuff from the garden, like my pickles are divine. And like there's a perfect amount of sour and salty, it's just great. But you put those in the fridge, get them all crispy and cold, sour, and then I put like Takis on them and I eat them. Oh my God.
No, that yeah, I know.
Takis and the pickles is delicious.
When you said your pickles were divine, I heard Isaac just lose his shit. So,
Yeah.
uh,
But hey, there's probably red 40, but they say I think they're banning red 3. I think that's probably something that they use in like cosmetics or something, probably. But red 40 is the stuff that they use in
yeah,
food.
Red 40. We're gonna have
The
to.
article I seen, I thought they said red 3 or something. I didn't think I thought it said red 40 in the article I seen. I'll have to look into it, but
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a show. If you guys want to see this, let us know about the whole nutritional thing with all the like even the energies of foods, and also the poisons within the foods, and
yeah,
those the whole bit. We can go into that.
yep. That's like both of our topics. I love them both.
Hmm, okay, Isaac. All right. Okay, through the crystal, Isaac. Yes, this is an interesting topic. The Bosnian pyramids by themselves, to judge their age. Of course, there's going to be the carbon dating, and then there's also the temporal dating, and all these other things, radiological, all of this. But the what stands out, it's just like, say, if you would mention a favorite song of yours or a movie or something like that. Doesn't that date you as a person of the era of which you grew up in? The structure, if you go inside of this, inside of the main one, that allows for healing to take place within that corridor, it is deep enough to where none of these toxins of which you were also talking about with the food in the atmosphere, chemicals, chemtrailing, all of this, the fog you had recently, all of this blocks this 110%. And you might think that that's impossible. No, this particular granite that this is made out of which is also being covered by plants, trees, and foliage over the ages that this pyramid exists. Other plant life, rocks, animals, everything started making their homes within this. They were drawn to the energy. The mere land itself was done, the land formations were drawn to it and then covered it. Even your Chinese government tried to cover one of their pyramids by planting trees on it. That's artificially done. Imagine a natural formation that was hundreds of thousands of years old, or an artificial one that drew in natural formations like a magnet. Your Mammoth Cave in Kentucky is the same way. It was actually an open area where if you go in now, you see a table and chairs that are in there that look like they're made of stone, tables of stone and chairs of stone. But what happened is water got in there and the stalactites and stalagmites formed. So therefore, that shows how long that chamber was there. It was a galactic meeting chamber millions of years ago. With the Bosnian pyramids, it's very similar. This shows that as far back as how that land covered those structures, which would put it back a million plus at least. Yes, there were pyramids on this earth at that time. They tried to date some of the other structures there from different eras because, like with each civilization, they build on the bones of the previous. So you're actually seeing several eras there, just like with some of like a lot of your European cultures, and also a lot of with medieval and Roman. What happens? The Romans built on top of megalithic structures. Medieval cultures built on top of Roman. This is actually no different. The Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of Love specifically have some of these healing properties, the sun being the most, and more so than the others. You go down deep into the chambers underneath, and why people were so drawn to this site. He thought it was artificially hypnotic at first. No, this is stored and charged up energy for many, many, many centuries. And this stored energy must then go somewhere. For whom the bell tolls, let's just say, they walk in there, the sound frequency of that chamber then echoes, sends that energy back down into the person, and heals their ailments. Not only is it cutting them off from the toxins, it is actually through sound frequency healing their insides. This is why those sites, very much like that, can actually heal, like the Ray Caverns that were nearby. There is to them there is a chamber. It's here in Virginia called the Ray Caverns. This place has a frequency by which then can also heal your insides, and your energy. This pyramid was built for that purpose, but also had the harmonics to be able to be part of the pyramid worldwide network. Just like you have an internet now. They had an internet then, but this was of natural energy that went from pyramid to pyramid. Eventually, it was retrofitted for hydrogen purposes, but before then, it was 0 point energy, and it was the energy of essentially the multiverse. This site is incredibly old, and the reason academia wants to cover it up because that seems to be their nature. They wish to cover up any truth that does not coincide to the one that they were taught and the training and the programming of which they exist within. The same goes with aliens, Sasquatch, UFOs, ancient cultures, any of these things. If it goes against what the establishment has set down, they have a bias in place, and they also have enforcers in place that will ridicule people and will also get people to lose their jobs, etc., etc., etc. Typical academia. If you find out this truth. And they're actually also abiding an agreement that was made with certain beings out there, aliens, and even the Nazi Party back in the day. This is why academia will not expand, because they thought Hitler expanded too far with the paranormal, with ancient cultures, with Atlantis. So some of them are basically convinced if they go in that area again, that they would become the next Nazi Party, which that's BS. But this is what they believe. So I can
Maybe Antarctica.
and Antarctica, yes. So I can go into questions if you want.
I just have 2 or 3 questions to sum up this today. Number one, the war that you talked about that brought the pyramid culture to an end. Do you think that could ever happen again?
No, not this time. The galactic community is actually afraid that it would if they somehow broke the rules, just like what I said about academia, afraid that the whole Hitler premise of the Fourth Reich would come about in that particular way, even though the Nazis didn't really lose the war. We won't go into that. They are afraid that if they break some rules out there in the galaxy, some treaties start to change even a little bit, that somehow the galaxy will burst into flames. And I'm being facetious, but at the same time, it's true. This is how they think. Some of them, anyway. Others do not. Others are more aligned like you guys and just want to be your bros and your comrades, essentially. In this case, could a war like what happened in the last Great War, which was essentially 500,000 of your years ago, the time of the Ragnarok, could this happen again on that scale? No, because the resources do not exist in order to both fund and build necessary sized war machines, you see. At that time, I think of it this way, there was a show called Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, where the character of Dylan Hunt freezes in time for 300 years in the event horizon of a wormhole or a black hole. What happens in that 300 years? That his Commonwealth civilization collapses, and the resources just were not around to rebuild it. That was actually a clue that Gene Roddenberry was inserting in there. You have the last big war that had extremely advanced stone technologies, had extremely advanced energetic technologies, resources beyond measure. But when that civilization collapsed, or at least came to a head and a screeching halt, not only did the Galactic Federation at that time separate from the rest of you, but at the time, then a lot of those resources that existed then began to wane and then go away. What happens when you mine something? Eventually that mine runs out.
Yeah.
So therefore, that level of war that happened at that time is not possible in this century at all.
Well, that's good news, I guess. But what would even be better news is, do you believe that which I don't, unless if this civilization gets destroyed, do you think a pyramidal society, global society could ever be a thing again?
Oh, absolutely. Could some workarounds be made in order to power some of this ancient technology? Absolutely. It's like when you see in your Stargate Atlantis program where they were able to retrofit computers into the ancient computers. You've already begun to do this. That show is based off actual true programs that are out there, and your secret space program, amongst other ones that are unnamed currently to you in the Black Projects, and other ones that you have no clue of. and visitations to other worlds, like in Stargate. Could you create a pyramid again with that much compressed stone and with those particular resources that literally the molecules of the stone itself are literally the technology? Oh, absolutely. Can it be replicated if you can locate the necessary resources? I do know completely and fully that humanity is quite capable of finding these resources off world and quite capable of building said technologies, and even maybe even teaching the galactic community a thing or two of not having a stick jammed far up their ass. And I make fun of them because I know they can hear me. So, with this particular subject on pyramid culture, could humanity pull this off and actually teach the cosmos a thing or two? And could the cosmos teach Earth a thing or two in trade? Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. I think that's a perfect statement to leave it out on.
Yes, yes. Thank you for having me on. I always enjoy these particular programs. Sorry for the stuttering tonight because there has been an inordinate amount of interference. Talk about lack of resources. There's some talks about people with sticks up their ass trying to interfere. I also make fun because I know they can and they have no sense of humor. So, with
No,
that,
thank you. It was very good information. Very good
yes.
information.
So thank you. Oh, oh,
Oh
wow.
yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, I can do that quickly, but like I said, if I did it in the middle of him talking, it would look all fucked up. But yeah, there has been some stuttering in the energy tonight. There's been this little bit of interruption, or throttling is actually a better word for
I
it.
felt it. Hey, I don't know what it is, but like the last week, I haven't been able to think. Like I
Mhm.
haven't. I've had so much brain fog, and just I can't think.
Fog is the correct word. It's that fog that surfaced recently, just before the fires popped up in California.
Yeah.
This is the fog, that mystery fog. It was a form of land chemtrail that took place and started making people feel dumber. There is that, and the energies surrounding it are pretty wretched. So there's a mixture of psionics and chemical that is taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about psychological warfare.
Yep. Psychological, chemical combined. Yeah. That's exactly what this is.
Well, I wanted to talk about that. I was doing a little bit of research into it, and I thought it was kind of funky, but I don't know much about it. But I thought it was like, yeah, I could believe it. I
That could
seen
be.
another one today to where like the high-speed rail system that they want in California, the high-speed rail system, apparently the rail system lines up with the way that the fire trail looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of something interesting to think about that a lot of people might not be aware of.
And those are the after effects I found out of battling going on. That's why people saw these orbs and crap and little flying shadows and stuff around the fires and everything. So yeah,
Weird.
yeah. So you're seeing the effects of battling and war pretty much. So
Mm.
and also energy weapons, from space. So
Mm-hmm.
talk about psychological and energetic warfare along with chemical warfare. That's essentially what's being seen. That I think do weaponry and stuff like that, I think would be a fascinating show. The directed energy weapons and use
Mm-hmm.
of them, I think would be fascinating. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, we should.
yes. So I don't know, Aubrey, if you have anything else to add.
No, I think I think we covered another good episode. I hope you guys learned something today. Talking about pyramids is always fun, because they're everywhere, but yet, none of us really, on the masses, we never visit them, we never see them. A lot of them are hidden. Kind of like the Bosnian pyramids, I look at how many smaller pyramidal structures that are probably hidden that have never been discovered yet. They're out there. Look at how vast nature is.
Mm-hmm.
So they're out there.
To a nub that we don't know about because they're too old. We don't know.
Yeah. And just ones on this Earth, there could be pyramids on another planet, like we've seen, like Mars anomalies and things of that nature.
The Phobos, obelisk, or the
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, but it could be. But no, until the next episode, we hope you do good, and thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you for joining everybody, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed this program. And this is where we say you are now leaving the conspiracy sector. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
Bye now.
thank you. Bye bye.